Welcome to Wannabe Clutter-free, formerly Wannabe Minimalist, the podcast for busy families who are tired of the chaos, fed up with being overwhelmed, and ready to enjoy life again. Each week, we talk about how to let go of the clutter so that you can focus on the things that actually matter. And it's not just physical clutter, we talk about the mental and emotional stuff too, because if it's holding you back, it's time to ditch it. I share what I've done in my own life to declutter, organize, and calm the chaos, but you won't just hear it from me. There are amazing guests too. It's practical, doable, and simple for those of us that want to be clutter free. Well, hey there, my friend. Welcome back to the show. My name is Deanna Yates, and you are listening to episode 224 of the Wannabe Clutter Free podcast. On today's episode, I am chatting with Jessica Litman about micro decluttering. Now, I have talked about micro decluttering before, but Jessica has a different take on it. And honestly, I think I like her approach better because it fits more with my busy mom lifestyle that needs more flexible goals. I still stick by the way I was micro decluttering at the beginning of this year, but it can feel a little rigid. So if that was a little tough for you, then check out this episode because it might just be the little tweak you need. But before we jump into it, I want to say thank you to you, of course, for joining me today. And if you like what you hear, can you do me a huge favor and subscribe to the show so you don't miss out on any future episodes? I have some bonus materials in the works and I don't want you to miss them. They will not be released on regular days. So if you're used to listening to this right when it comes out, you might miss those bonus episodes. All right, so thank you so much for being part of our community. And if there is anything you want me to talk about, or if you have questions about decluttering, organizing, or living a better life with less stuff, well, I want you to come over and reach out. Reach out to me on Instagram. I am at Wannabe Clutter Free, or join our private community, the Wannabe Minimalist Family Group on Facebook. You are not alone and you do not have to do this alone. So come on over and join us and just be part of the group. All right, let's learn more about my guest today. Jessica Litman is known as the Organized Mama, and she is a home organization expert dedicated to helping families create functional and organized spaces. Her practical tips have been featured in outlets like Today.com, Better Homes and Gardens, and Parents Magazine. She hosts the Organizing Tune-Ups podcast and is the author of Home Sweet Organized Home. She's also a speaker sharing her expertise on organizing homes, businesses, and routines. I will have links to all of Jessica's resources in the show notes, which you can find at wannabeclutterfree.com/224. Again, that's wannabeclutterfree.com/ the number 224. And now let's get to our conversation. Well, hi, Jessica. Welcome to Wannabe Clutter Free. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I am so happy to have you here. We're going to talk about micro decluttering today. But before we get there, can you tell listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got into this world of organizing and decluttering?
Yes, I'm so excited to be chatting with you. I really kind of have always been an organized person. My previous life was like a teacher, and my students, I had all of these systems in place. So I was doing all of these things just to ensure that they stayed organized and on top of their academics and everything, and then found out I was pregnant and decided to retire from teaching. And that kind of pivoted into, okay, well, now we have to move because we were in a one-bedroom apartment in downtown Chicago. So we moved, and setting up the house and organizing, all of my friends were like, "How do you know how to do this?" So I started writing the blog, The Organized Mama, and it spiraled into doing in-home organizing, teaching others how to organize, and just spiraled from there. My true love is teaching, and so that's kind of like how I weave everything into The Organized Mama, is that teaching aspect, and especially teaching kids how to organize because of my background in teaching elementary school kiddos.
Well, and you have to be organized to be a teacher. Well, you don't have to be, but I can imagine that your life is so much easier when you are organized as a teacher. And then I love that you are, kind of parlaying that into helping the kids too. What a life skill you're able to teach them, one as a teacher, and then now helping parents where they can teach their kids that as well. So that's awesome.
Yes, it is. It's a nice tie-in and really helps just kind of benefit the whole family.
Love it. Okay, so let's talk about micro decluttering. First off, can you explain to the listeners what you consider micro decluttering to be?
Yes. So micro decluttering is this phrase that has been around in the organizing world and it has many meanings apparently. I recently learned that there's like quite a few micro decluttering meanings. The way that I look at it is using your micro moments of like throughout the day to declutter specific areas or small spaces so that you can feel more accomplished because with kids, with a family, with a life, it's not always feasible to do a giant house declutter or even apartment declutter in one weekend. It might not work. So using those small moments of time, you have 15 minutes before you have to pick up a kid from an activity, you have 10 minutes before you have to head out to work, using that like extra time that you have instead of scrolling on social, declutter one small area so you feel like way more accomplished and you can clear that mental space instead of drowning in your stuff.
Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to talk about how I am implementing this advice from Jessica in my life right now.
I'm Margaret.
And I'm Amy.
And together we host the podcast, What Fresh Hell? Laughing in the Face of Motherhood.
Margaret, I would say you're sort of a where are my keys kind of mom.
Correct. Sometimes a where are my kids kind of mom. While you're, Amy, more of a we were supposed to leave 35 seconds ago, mom.
I mean, touche. In each episode of What Fresh Hell, we come at a topic from our usually completely opposite perspectives. I bring the research.
And I bring kind of the gimlet eye. Like, is that research really going to work, people?
And almost 10 million downloads later, we're still laughing.
We also talk to experts in the parenting field, plus parents with stories we can all learn from.
We make each other laugh, we challenge each other's assumptions, and we have what we think is the best parenting community on the internet.
Check out What Fresh Hell? Laughing in the Face of Motherhood wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome back. I love it. Okay, I love it. So I have tried I think that's probably how I mean, that's mostly how I approach decluttering too. It's like it can't be this big thing for me anymore. I can't make the huge mess. I can't make the messy middle piles in the middle of the floor because yeah, life is going to get in the way and someone's going to come knock on our door or our kid's going to want to go out for a play date or she's going to get home from school or something's going to happen, right? I mean, our home is constant with stuff, right? Not with stuff, literal stuff, but just things that we're doing, like actively doing. My husband and I both work from home. And so it's just so busy here. There's just not time for that. Okay, let's pause life and do a giant declutter. And anyway, nobody wants to do that on the weekend. That is the quickest way I found to get your family to be like, nope, I'm just going to nope right out of this. This doesn't sound like fun. Okay, so I love that approach. I have tried a different approach with micro decluttering. So I'm thankful that you told us what your belief was because I have tried decounting the items and then getting rid of a certain percentage of the items, which to be fair, did work for me, and I thought that was really good. I just wasn't able to continue. I didn't continue doing that throughout the house. That was like I get spurts of energy and I'm like, okay, cool. I can do this. This sounds fun. And it gave me a really good way to, I don't know, maybe just jumpstart something, but it wasn't sustainable for me. So walk us through that. How have you found the different approaches to micro decluttering?
Yes, there are a lot. And so the reason why I suggest using these small moments during your day is if you set it up as like a habit, like, okay, by the end of the day, I will have spent 10 minutes on the counter. I will have spent 15 minutes on the junk drawer. Or while I'm waiting for the pot to boil, I can go through the cooking utensils. So by doing that and making it a habit, like, okay, every day I'm gonna do one thing, it creates this kind of mentality of it's kinda like a game, and I found, like, using there's apps that help with streaks or keeping you accountable on those type of things, and then if you turn it into a game, you're able to continue to do the declutter as you go. So instead of like, "Oh my gosh, I have to do this." Okay, I don't wanna break my streak of not cleaning up one area. Even if it's just, like, cleaning up, like, we've done I had a micro declutter group, like an email group that we were all going through every week was like your kitchen. So pick one cabinet, pick one drawer, and then do that for the whole week. So you get like the whole space done while you have this momentum in the different kind of life stages where, when it comes to the beginning of the school year, you might have more energy to do this, or January, you have more energy to do, or guests are coming over. So now you're like, okay, I'm going to make more time for myself so that this gets organized or decluttered. And so using those kind of bursts of energy to do bigger projects, not like the whole house, but taking like the small moments to do that, I've found has been really beneficial to the majority of, like, email lists and followers. They have responded in that way. Now, there is another method of micro decluttering, and that's where you try to sell or give away an item, and then if you don't, then it just stays in your house, but, like, you're actively taking that initial step to remove something. So I've seen it with the buy, sell, trade group, and people will put up random things that they have that they wanna get out of their house, but they're not, like, going to actively take it to a donation center, and so then they use that as their micro decluttering. They're putting it up on those sites, and so if that would motivate you, then I would say go with that. Like, find whatever system or strategy will motivate you and then run with it, and then don't listen to anything else.
Don't listen to anything else. No, I love that. I like the idea of okay, so that the second one is interesting to me. I haven't heard that concept of like I don't really want this thing, but I don't wanna be bothered with taking it anywhere either. So that one's interesting. I hadn't heard that before, but I can see that being helpful. Or when it's something that's really big, like we're in the process of I just moved my office over to where this used to be our dining room where I'm sitting right now. And we had a designer come in and kinda help us just look at the flow of our house. And this was an add-on, and so he's like, "Well, the where your office is now, that was, like, architecturally meant to be the dining room." So we're like, "Okay, well, let's just see the energy flow of it," right? So right now, we are in a transition, right? I'm making sure that I like this before I invest any more, in any furniture or declutter a bunch of things. So I guess I could see that, like, we have a rug that was under here. It's a huge rug. It was an 8 by 12 size rug. So, I mean, that's not gonna be easy to pop in my car to take down to the Goodwill or wherever my donation center and be like, "All right, well, here you go." And so I can see those kinds of a thing. That was the first thing that popped in my head when you were talking about that method because I was like, that seems strange." And I was like, "No, it's not, because 'cause you've got something in your house that you probably will end up micro decluttering that way if we want to put a label on it." So, yeah, all right, cool. Well, I love learning new ways to implement kind of the same just get the stuff out of your house, right?
Yes. It is, and it's just whatever method or strategy or idea resonates with you is, like, what you have to take and run with, and I am all about, like, "Okay, let's learn every single way," and then you figure out which one it is, and then stop searching for a new way. Just stop. Like, "This is it. This works for you."
I like that. Well, and the thing is, like, I have found in my life, I'm gonna contradict you a little bit on that one, but I found that different times in my life, I need something a little different. So I also love the idea of change. So I have my new little office set up and I feel so energized. And I love it because it's got a new energy to it, right? It's got like a different feel. And like you were saying, though, too, in different times in your life, that also might be a moment for you to experiment with something different. So the kids have just gone back to school as we're recording this. I mean, maybe they've been in school for a couple weeks, but I finally feel like I've got my footing and I'm like, okay, yes, this is good. The new routines have started to settle in. And so there's always going to be those moments of transition, whether it's the holidays come up or the summertime, right? A weather shift, schedule shift. There's going to be different things like that. I mean, a life shift for different life stages with the kids becoming teenagers or going from being a baby to a toddler. Like there's always going to be moments of change. And so that could be a good time for you to try a new method. If you feel like your old method is suddenly feeling stale, there is no lack of new ways to try to do the same thing we've been doing. So I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, and it's like the same with working out. I always think of declutter like working out. Like when you feel you've kind of hit the peak and then you've kind of plateaued, that's when, you change up your routine. So do the same for decluttering, do the same for decorating, do the same for everything. You know when you've hit your kind of like plateau.
Oh, that's a great analogy. That is a great way to put it. Yes. Yes. When you've hit your plateau and things feel stale, it's time to try something new. All right. Can you share any success stories or anything, like any examples that really stood out for you where you're like, oh, no, people need to know about this? Like, this is amazing.
When I was doing in-home organizing, I I would do these big organizing projects and then people would call me back and like, "Okay, it didn't work." And I'm like, "What do you mean it didn't work?" They're like, "Well, the kitchen didn't stay organized. The pantry didn't last." So I'm like, "Okay." Trying to like assess why wasn't this working? What did we do that wasn't effective? And what I realized, we made such a big change in such a short amount of time that the entire family didn't have time to process the new change. So we kind of shifted up our services and we were going weekly to clients' houses for 45 minutes an hour to do one small area, change one area. And then the next week we would go and change a little bit of a different area and then just kind of build on that. That method worked phenomenal. We did not like, we had people like, if they went to Costco and they had like a giant, all the giant things, they're like, "Can you help reset the pantry?" But it was always a reset the pantry instead of like reorganize the pantry. Or when, because again, this was in Chicago, so winter, all the winter gear turned summer gear, to flip over the closet, but not reorganize it. So doing those kind of like smaller jobs really changed how I viewed organizing because then I'm like, wait a minute, the big changes aren't going to last if people aren't ready. But if we just go small areas, micro declutter, kind of as we go and build on it, it lasts and it works.
Oh, that is so good because I think people get down on ourselves for thinking, no, I want this big wow moment that we see on TV. And that's not reality. It's so hard to get that, like to understand that idea that it doesn't just go from chaos to flip a switch and it's perfect and everyone's going to be able to maintain that because you're right, our habits and the routines and the way we've been interacting with this space doesn't just flip on a dime. And so, oh my gosh, that's so great. I love that you figured that out. I love that your clients were into it. And I love that you're sharing that it's okay if we're doing things smaller, gives everybody a chance to catch up, right? You might already be 10 steps ahead of everyone else. But if they are just like, okay, maybe like they're just dipping their toe or they're still tying their shoelaces, they're not going to be at the finish line with you if you just take off for the races. So, oh, that's such a great approach. I love that. Very cool.
Yes. So that's kind of how micro decluttering kind of started in my world. And by using those, like you build off of it, that like eventually you could have that wow moment. And if you are one that's motivated by that, because there are a lot of people that are, record yourself doing like the small steps, stick them all together in, like a short form video so you can see your own progress. I've noticed with my daughter, she does dance and there are like skills that she's working on, but she doesn't see her progress. So we've like been slowly taking like small videos of her so that she can see how much she's grown. And I feel like you can easily do the same with organizing and decluttering to kind of see how much it's actually changed because when you also like live in it, it doesn't always feel like you're making a difference, you're making an impact, but if you see it over time, it will help significantly.
Yes, yes. I do always recommend take that before picture. You don't have to share it with anybody. I know people are like, "Oh no, I'm so embarrassed." And I'm like, nobody has to see it. This picture is for you. It is absolutely okay if it's a chaotic mess because you are going to be so proud of yourself on the other end. But I love the short form videos or just, yeah, the progress over time. Just make sure you're taking that over time when you're doing these smaller moments so you can see, oh, I really did. Wow, that really was a lot more than I thought it was. Or, yeah, no, that's so great. Okay, so let's say there are people listening who are like, great, I feel like I need a perfect block of time to start though. Like, things are busy. I want this to really stick this time. I want this to be perfect. Obviously, as moms, I think we know nothing is ever perfect. And even when you think you've got your whole week lined up, someone's going to come home with a cough or a scrape a knee or end up needing stitches. So fun. How do you help us get over this mindset of like, look, let's just start. Let's just be messy with it. Let's take one more quick break. And when we come back, Jessica's going to give us her advice on where she thinks we should start. Welcome back.
I say pick the one area that's just driving you nuts. And most of the time for moms, it's the kitchen counter or kitchen island or kind of like where the shoes and backpacks go. Like that vicinity is typically where it is. And then start there. Just like 15 minutes on a timer. Just knock out like, okay, I'm going to go through all the mail and the papers. Boom, I'm done. And then you just need one small thing to get the ball rolling in order to like see, oh, I can do this. I can clear the counters every night. I can load the dishwasher. I can do these like small things that in the end just give you that mental clarity of, oh, I did something. I feel productive, even if it's just clearing off the counter or putting the shoes away or hanging up a backpack. Like those small little things really do add up.
Yeah, those small little things aren't just anything. They're lots of little things, clearing your mind for sure. And I have found that those things don't take as long as we think they do. Like we feel like they're going to take a really long time, or gosh, it's just going to be so draining. And so sometimes I will just set the stopwatch on my phone and just be like, I'm just going to see how long this takes. And I'll be like, oh my God, that took me 28 seconds. I'm just like, why was I spent 10 minutes being like, I don't want to do it or scrolling through Instagram or whatever. It took me 28 seconds. Okay, stop. Just have a moment, grab a cup of coffee, take a sip, go do it. See if you can finish it before your coffee's cold, which, to be fair, lots of times I'm drinking cold coffee in this house because I just get distracted easily. This is why I have to have a decluttered house because I can't have the visual clutter. I then am just like, squirrel, this needs my attention or that needs my attention. And so, yeah, decluttering and organizing has been a huge life changer for me as a mom and, wife and human. Just being able to be who I want to be on a regular basis is really nice.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so I love that you told us where to start. I love that you told us, how we can just use these little minutes. So let's talk a couple more. I want a couple more like concrete examples. We talked about not scrolling on Instagram. Where do you recommend people like start when they're just like, okay, sure, I've got pockets of time, but okay, what? What should I do first?
Okay, very first thing, take a piece of paper and pen, walk through your entire house and write down all of the areas. And it needs to be paper and pen because so this is like the teacher in me. The brain research shows when you write it down in paper and pen, it actually leaves your brain. Instead of typing, your brain isn't able to process it as fully as it is with when you handwrite it. So handwrite it on sticky note, notebook, something, but paper, pen. Write down all the areas. Don't say kitchen, kitchen counter, baking drawer, glasses and water bottle cabinet. Like be specific in the areas because now you have a running list. And so anytime you're like, okay, I don't know where to start, just go to the list and then cross it off. That's also another easy visual for you to see, oh, like I'm making progress because I made this list And now I can like easily cross off things and you can see the progress in that way. But get specific, like that's the very first thing to do. If it's overwhelming, then I always suggest start in your bedroom because when your bedroom is decluttered, you can get a better night's sleep. Your brain is able to fall into REM sleep faster. There's a lot of brain research on cluttered bedroom spaces and like it's not good for your brain to process and to sleep. So start in your bedroom, get that decluttered, and then go to the next room, then that like maybe the kitchen, maybe it's the living room, like some other place that then write down the list and then slowly check off all of those things. And if like the whole house or whole apartment or whole space is too overwhelming.
Oh, so good. So, not only did you give us a concrete tip of where to start, you also helped us break it down in case that feels too overwhelming. Absolutely love that, Jessica. All right. Any last, pieces of advice you want to make sure people know before we wrap this up?
I honestly would just say, just start, like, make your list and just go for it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And the other beautiful part about micro decluttering, since you're doing small pockets, if it didn't work the first time, you could do it again. Just add it back to the list. It's okay. It happens. This is like total long story short, but we have a baking drawer in our kitchen that just for the life of me, I have the hardest time organizing that one drawer. My daughter loves to bake and stuff just never gets put back where it needs to be. I can't find drawer organizers that work. So that drawer is always on my micro declutter list. It's a standing appointment. Just that's what it is. I'm aware of it and it is annoying, but since she likes to bake, I don't wanna discourage that, so we're just gonna deal with the crazy drawer, and it is fine, and it just stays on the list even though I know I did it. So, you might have one of those, you might have a couple of those spaces, and it's okay. It's okay to, like, go do it, put a check next to it, like, you did it, you know you're gonna have to go back, and that's okay because everyone has a couple of those in their house.
It's okay to have a Monica closet.
That's what I'm gonna say.
It is okay. You can have a Monica closet. And I love that, you know, the purpose is your daughter loves to bake. That drawer does not have to be perfect. First off, is anyone else looking in that drawer? No. If your guests come over, they do not know which one your baking drawer is. They don't care. Was there a baked good that tasted good and your daughter enjoyed making it? Likely win, right? Like it is absolutely okay. So I love that you are giving people permission also to just be like, life is gonna, have its little moments. And there are more important things than having an organized drawer. So it is nice when it is organized, if it's helping us move forward in life and be the people we want to be and show up how we want to show up in our world, but also having that grace to know when enough is enough. And yeah, absolutely. So very great. Well, okay, Jessica, where can people find you? I know they're going to want to learn more.
Yes, my podcast, Organizing Tune-Ups, we break down big organizing concepts into small bite-sized chunks you can do every day. And on social media, The Organized Mama Co. and our website, The Organized Mama.
I love it. All right. Well, we will have links to all of that in the show notes, of course. But before we go, I have three rapid fire questions that I love to ask everyone. And I'm going to pause for a second because why can't I find them? Because I like to ask them the same way every single time because I organized my notes and then now they're not organized in the way I like them. Okay. So go ahead and restart. All right. So the first question is, what does clutter free mean to you?
Clutter-free means finding the stuff you like, use, and enjoy.
So good. Okay, number two, what is making you happy right now or in this season of your life?
Going on walks. It's like the perfect temperature in Minnesota to like be outside and enjoy the beautiful weather. So going on walks is my favorite right now.
So nice. And then two, I'm sorry, not two, number three, we're already there. What is a goal you have for yourself this year?
A goal I have for myself is well, it's a lot of them. I created a whole bunch of kind of like mini goals. So I'm doing like micro working out. And so my goal is to stick with my mini workout streak schedule.
Oh, very cool. Okay, what does that mean?
Okay, so Streaks is an app that I love using because again, it just turns everything into a game. So you want to like get the highest number of points. So by doing things consecutively. And so I looked on Pinterest and found some arm workouts and some leg workouts. And so I've created a kind of like easy workout schedule for myself, but to keep up with those streaks, along with like doing meditation and kind of like the well beingness of me.
Oh, I love it. Those are super fun. Okay, I'll have to pick your brain and get your mini workouts and see. So that's awesome. So awesome. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I know everyone's going to get a lot out of this episode, and I think you and I are very kindred spirits. So I think my audience is going to be like, "Oh yeah, this sounds familiar. I like it," and are really going to enjoy the episode. So thanks so much. Have a great day. Well, another great conversation in the books and one that I loved. Jessica and I have so many similarities, and I think it's so fun that we both lived in Chicago around the same time and have similar thoughts and approaches when it comes to decluttering and organizing. But I would absolutely love to know what you thought of this episode and our conversation. So if you want to leave a comment or join in the conversation, so I invite you to come and be part of our private community. It is the Wannabe Minimalist Family Group on Facebook, and you can join in the conversation over there. Or if you prefer, you can join me on Instagram. I am at Wannabe Clutter-free over there. All right, and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast to continue to get decluttering and organization inspiration sent to you every week. Thanks again to Jessica for joining us on the show and offering such amazing advice. I will be back here next week when I will be chatting with Halea Shoa about decluttering and organizing some of our most precious items. That's right, we're talking about our photos. It is one you are not going to want to miss. So until next time, keep things simple, keep thinking clutter-free, start micro, and see if that helps ignite that spark for you. But please remember that I believe in you and I know you can reach your goals. I'm Deanna Yates, and you've been listening to Wanna Be Clutter-Free. I'll see you next week. Cheers.